Assalamu alaikum everyone. So in this video we're going to discuss about screening and scoping. In our last video we have discussed about environmental impact assessment and we have discussed about screening and scoping in short. But in this video we are going to discuss about screening and scoping a little bit more and in detail. So let us remind a bit about screening and scoping. So what is screening? We know that when we execute a project, and as we have learned in our previous video, when the project is of red category, that is, if the project is of extreme danger category, in that case we will proceed with the screening process. How we will continue the screening process, it will depend upon the project type, the scale of the project, and the potential significant impact that the project has on the environment. We have to also consider the environmental sensitivity that the project has. So basically, considering all these facts, screening is done. Now, let us know about scoping a bit. So previously, we have learned that after screening, we go to the scoping process. Scoping identifies the key impacts which are to be examined and leads to formulation of TOR. Scoping mainly identifies those key ingredients or those key elements or factors which are responsible for environmental impact assessment. Scoping mainly eliminates all the unwanted stuffs from the project and then focuses on those things, and then based on that it implements the environmental impact assessment. So let us begin. So based on requirements, screening can be categorized into two types, and one of those types are prescriptive or standardized approach. This type mainly focuses on a list is prepared based on the government rules, legal regulations, and legislation, and the proponent, that is the person who is executing the project, makes or takes his decisions based on these legislative rules, that is the standardized rules, and based on these rules he executes the process of environmental impact assessment. There is another type of screening process that is executed, which is the customized approach. So customized approach is a bit different from standardized approach because this approach is mainly customized according to the project need. It depends upon the individual preference and case by case base. Sometimes when we execute a project for environmental impact assessment, the standardized guidance and approaches provided by the government list are not enough. In such cases, we need to customize our model or customize our list in order to execute the process. So these are basically two types of screening processes which are needed in order to perform the activity of screening. Now we will know about that. We know that standard and customized perspectives are different, but based on these four factors which are mentioned in the screen, we can categorize it even more efficiently. If we think about the speed or fastness of the respective perspectives, we can see that standardized approach is more faster than customized approach, because in case of standardized approach we have already listed set of rules and regulations according to which we can execute it. But in case of customized perspective, we have to create and customize new sets of rules and regulations according to the project. So in this case we can say the standardized perspective gets the point. When it comes to cost, then obviously customized perspective is more expensive because we have to customize it and prepare it according to the individual preference or the respective project that we are working on. If we think about flexibility, um, More than standardized perspective, customized perspective is more flexible, because in case of standardized perspective we are given a set of rules, and based on those rules we have to execute it. But in case of the customized approach, we get the freedom to customize it and change according to the need of the project. So we can say that flexibility is seen more in case of customized perspective than we can see in case of standardized perspective. Risks. Well, if you think, the risks are obviously more for the customized perspective than in the standardized perspective, because in standardized perspective there are set of rules and based on which the execution is done. But customized approach, a lot of money is being spent, and a flexibility is given, and after doing all this, if still the project fails to implement, or we fail to get our needed result, then we can see that the risk is quite high in case of the customized perspective. So there are two examples of standardized perspective and customized perspective. For example, in case of car model, we can use a standard ERP software for selling cars. So in that case, we can follow a set of rules and regulations as per the government. But when building a customized machine for factory, especially for developing priority software, in that case, we have to move to the customized perspective, because our model has to be customized according to the need of the factory machineries. So now we are going to discuss about the phase one of the EIA process. So phase one of the EIA process is basically screening. We have discussed up to now about what is screening and its types. Now we will discuss about the process and how the process proceeds. After detecting the category that is red or orange, then we'll understand the proposed activity. We'll understand that why this activity is being proposed and what is being proposed. After clearing these questions, we have to move forward and see the screen activity. Based on the nature of the fatality or the nature of the level of environmental impact that project has, and based on that it can be again categorized into three categories, that is of moderate, low, and of risk. We can see here in three categories. When the activity is of low risk, then obviously the significant adverse impact are less. When the activity is of risk, there is significant adverse impact. So in that case, we have to go and do the environmental impact assessment study. But in case when the activity is of low risk, that is, we find out after asking the questions that why the activity is being proposed and what is being proposed, and after knowing about the screen activity, that is the environmental impact that project has. If the activity is of low risk, then we will not have to proceed to the EIA study. But when it is of risk, we have to proceed and directly move to EIA study, that is environmental impact assessment study. But now we can see that when the activity is of moderate and is of unknown risk, in such case we have to conduct a preliminary assessment, and we have to use the EIA tools to simplify the unknown risk. And based on the preliminary assessment and the simplified EIA study, by using the tools, we can know that what kind of adverse impact that unknown thing has. And after knowing that significant impact, we can conduct the EIA studies in case of moderate unknown risks. So that's how the phase one of the EIA process or screening is done, and it's continued. So now we are going to discuss about the screening process in the context of Bangladesh, that is ECR 23, which is also known as Environment Conservation Rule 2023. Well, for environmental impact assessment, ECR 23, that is a set of rules and regulation, was made in Bangladesh to control environmental pollution and to ensure sustainable development. This rule was replaced previously by ECR 23 and established new standards for industry. such as water discharge limit. Based on these rules and regulations, that is the ECR 23, screening process is executed by the proponent in Bangladesh. And the process is exactly the same as I have discussed in the previous slide. Just the difference is the rules and regulations are followed according to Bangladeshi set of rules. That is the Environment Conservation Rules 2023. So now we will discuss about scoping. So far we have discussed about screening, and after screening we have to do the process of scoping. So we know that in case of screening, it focuses more on the scale, the environmental sensitive ingredients or the factors, and the overall environmental impact the project has on human beings, ecological balance, biodiversity, etc. But scoping focuses or gives us a more narrower vision because it focuses on the key elements of the environmental impact. It focuses on the significant factors because of which the environment is facing problems and the environment is being impacted. It focuses on using the time properly and saving the money, and also eliminating the unwanted or unnecessary things from the investigation. If you look at the benefits of scoping, we can see clearly that it provides us a more comprehensive and clearer picture of the project. It focuses more on the important resources and the factors rather than focusing on the unnecessary or irrelevant informations which in later on will increase our cost or will create more error in the investigation process. It also helps us to get a more quicker result so that we can stimulate or get an early estimation, and then the proponents can discuss with the environmental authorities and can do the necessary changes and amendments quicker because of the focus of the important key elements by scoping. As scoping focuses only on the main ingredients, it makes the process of environmental impact assessment quite easier. And it also helps in consulting with the other authorities so we can get a more clearer vision, and it helps us to execute the process more smoothly, more efficiently, and we can execute it with less amount of errors. So now we will discuss about setting boundaries in the scoping process. It is very important to set the boundaries for the scoping process because when we conduct the environmental impact assessment, if we don't ascertain or we don't cut out the area where we are working on, or on the area on which we are focusing on, it will just increase the cost and will increase the amount of errors. So in order to do the process of scoping perfectly, it is very much important for us to define the boundaries for environmental impact assessment. The boundaries are mainly set based on the time of the project, the space, and the subject matter. Because sometimes when we are working on the process of environmental impact assessment, we might be dealing with small particles that may go after several kilometers. Sometimes we might be dealing with point elements or point pollutants. And if we set a boundary up to a certain limit, then in such case the point source might go even further exceeding that limit. In such case, we have to also keep that in mind, that how much area a point pollutants can go, and also set that boundary within our study area. When we fix the study area, we have to obviously keep in mind the ecological, economic, and the social, physiological, etc. matters. because sometimes when we're setting boundaries, there will be boundaries, of social and cultural. We might be setting boundaries on some such type of places where there could be a cultural heritage, or the people there might not like us or want us to do so. So, keeping all these social and cultural things in mind, keeping thinking about the cost and the ecological impact that has, we have to set the boundary in such a way that we can also extract the needful information for our study, and we could also not harm the ecological, economic, social, etc. factors when conducting our study. There is another important thing about setting boundaries, that is overextending the study boundary. Sometimes, when we overextend the study boundaries, it will just increase our cost, and it will just add more expense to the report, and will make the report even tougher, because when we are to conduct an environmental impact assessment, we have to do it with a certain amount of budget. If we don't maintain that budget and overextend our boundaries, then the assessment might be difficult. So it is very much important to set the boundaries when we're working on the environmental impact assessment. So now we are going to discuss about the scoping procedure. As we can see in this picture, we can clearly see that the process is executed very simply if we understand the concept so far. As we know that scoping deals with identifying the specific or key factors which are necessary for our project. So this thing is executed by the project proponent based on the secondary sources, or through collection of data by primary sources if available. In this case, the in of the scoping process, mainly the informations are gathered from various types of source which are available. It can be secondary source, or it can also be primary source. After collecting the needful information, it is necessary to evaluate those concerning identifying significant issues, and those issues are to be eliminated which are not needed. So firstly, we will for the environmental impact assessment, we will gather the needful informations from the primary source if we can, and from the secondary sources. We'll just collect information, and in the second step, we'll just eliminate those information which are not needed, and we'll just derive a list of the key issues and problems which are to be considered. And after that, we'll have to make a proper listing based on the priorities, or the based on the level of damage or the level of importance of these factors. And after doing so, we have to finalize and document the agreed and confirm those into a formulated form, which is known as TOR, that is also known as terms of reference. So what is terms of reference? So after executing the scoping process, we have to prepare a document, or based on which the EIA is conducted. In that study, we will include all the things, or all the factors that we have considered, and all the necessary or needful informations which are needed for the environmental impact assessment. The documentation of the project should be made in such a way that it can be amended, or it can be edited as far as our need. The document should be flexible, so that when it is sent, the experienced parties, they can give us a feedback, and based on those feedbacks, we can again change our report, or we can change the necessary things which need to be changed. So this type of flexibility and feedback scopes should be made in the terms of reference. And if we are able to execute or do these things properly, then we will be able to execute the environmental impact assessment process smoothly and with less amount of error. It is very much important to keep the terms of reference very much informative and to the point, because the feedback that we get from the stakeholders or the other experienced parties. Merging those with our own study, we can create a perfect or near perfect environmental impact assessment study report. So, when conducting environmental impact assessment, the screening and the scoping processes are very much important. And based on these activities, our terms of reference or TOR will also be a strong report, and it can be executed. So we should, when considering or when performing the environmental impact assessment process, we should be very much careful when we're dealing with the data. In case of screening and in case of scoping process, even more, because in case of scoping process, it requires more specific and to the point data. So that's how mainly the environmental impact assessment process is conducted. So thank you everyone for listening and seeing this video. You can let me know in the comment section if any topic that you want, uh, so that I can create my next video on that topic. I will appreciate if you like and subscribe to my channel, and so that I can upload more videos related to environmental and resource economics. So stay tuned, and another new video will be coming up real soon. Take care. Thank you.